Can you all hear me?
Yes, welcome to the panel.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm ready for whatever questions you have.
I have a question about one of the missing websites. You know, the main one for the missing children, the National Exploited website. How often is that updated? Do you know?
Are you talking about the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's somebody, they have around the clock people that work for, as they call it, NCMEC. It's a short for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So somebody works there around the clock. So they're constantly online, trolling social media, and trying to update all case logs that they have, and forward that. And they will forward that information, any information that they get, they will forward it to the local law enforcement as well as to the FBI.
Okay. Well, we was going through that website one day, and there was a lady who was missing on that website. And, you know, we went to her Facebook page. It looked like she was perfectly fine. And Rita, do you want to catch him up on the phone call that we made?
I explained to him what I shared.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Well, look, we called, and Rita, I guess, gave you the rundown, but it didn't seem like he was too concerned. And it was just really weird if they're saying it was bouncing up, and it just didn't seem like he wanted to get much help on that part. So that's why I was wondering, how often is it really updated? Just saying that we found someone that's on there.
Yeah, it's continuously updated. When information comes, when they learn information, they update it right then and there. So, but you know, like I told her, it's, you could have caught him on a bad day. I don't know, but you know, I receive calls as well from people, citizens, and you know, sometimes you know, we have to be very careful about information that you relay, especially when you have a ongoing case, ongoing missing person, especially that's being trafficked. You know, the traffickers, they are not dumb. They're very, very smart. Okay, and they will have someone call just to obtain information, so that way they can continue to evade law enforcement. So I told her yesterday that for you all, I understand that you all are trying to help, but you know, it probably would be a better way of doing it by you know, organizing, becoming, you know, actual what did I tell you yesterday? Right. You want to like become an organization. I mean, it's like almost like you know, certify yourself. You know, so that way somebody, when you call, and you can say, I'm with such and such group, and they can say, okay, they can Google, look you all up, see who you all are. Okay, so that way they can feel comfortable. You know, if they give information, they can feel comfortable giving the information to you all. Because you know, we never know who we're talking to on the other side of the phone, and you know, we can give up information that can really hinder our investigation, or you know, retrieving that child that's being trafficked.
That makes sense. Is there anything that you would like to tell us about more about what you do as far as when a child goes missing? Like, what's the criteria, you know, as far as the Amber Alerts go and stuff like that? Can you answer that question for me?
All right. So, well, first, when a child goes missing, all right. So, all right, you remember when we had a lot of girls that were missing here in DC? She's on. It was on the news. It made national news. We had a lot of girls missing. This was last year, and so we had people show up here from all over. As far as, I mean, we had people come on a bus from North Carolina. Okay, and they came here to DC in order to go around and do, you know, door-to-door searches for these girls. Okay, so the thing was this: those girls, they would, except for there was a few girls that lived in Virginia that actually was trafficked, but what ended up happening was we was having a lot of missing girls. Well, the thing was, those girls eventually would turn up, and when they turned up, you know, they were questioning about where they were and everything, and we came to find out that it was a runaway challenge. So everybody was thinking that these girls were being trafficked, but they were not. They were doing a runaway challenge, and so which, you know, I'm sorry.
You said a runaway challenge?
Yeah, they had a runaway challenge.
Wow.
So, and this was new to us, and we ended up learning it when we went to. They had this big meeting. They had a lot of community people from the community come in, and this is where we learned this information about the runaway challenge. So once they go missing, first we have to determine why did they go missing, and once we determine that it's a trafficking situation, then things kind of change up. Then, okay, so now human trafficking is pretty much an underground business. It's been for years, centuries. Okay, this is one of the oldest professions, human trafficking, sex trafficking. So when we deal with this, it is very, very hard to investigate. It's very, very hard to locate, and then it's very, very hard to prosecute traffickers. Okay, so and I could tell you why. So, all right, so let's think about when you have drugs, when you have guns. We lock up drug dealers, we lock up people that sell guns. Well, the thing is, when you lock them up, what do you take? You taking the drugs, you taking the guns, and you putting it into property, and you holding it for evidence. So you have physical evidence when it comes to prosecuting those people that are selling drugs and, you know, selling guns. Well, with human trafficking, we don't have that. Our victim is our case. Now, do we get other stuff to go along with that case, like, you know, electronics, social media? Yes, if we have somebody that is not too bright, we can get up on their social media and we can gather evidence that way in order to prosecute. But still, the case will lie mainly with the victim. So if you have a victim who I would say is not ready yet, it's not just like um, when you have domestic violence. You have women that get, you know, abused in domestic violence. Well, it's hard to, for those cases, you know, you have the makeup and breakup. It's pretty much the same thing. So now what happens is with the trafficker, usually we call them pimps. They have this so-called relationship with these young girls, and these young girls, they do what we call protecting the pimp. And so, which makes it hard to prosecute the pimp. So we've gotten cases where it's that, let's say we get them in there and they start telling us the story, and we know they're going to lie off the break when we first talk to them. But eventually, as we continue to go forward with building a case, if we keep continues to catch them in lies, their credibility gets shot. And now it makes our case hard to prosecute because they're not being straightforward with us. So that's a part of the issues that we run into. I had a case where is that I had a 16-year-old girl, and I can tell you this real quick. We were doing an undercover operation. She was out on the street prostituting, and we locked her up. Now, when we locked her up, she gave name, date of birth that made her the age of 27. Well, she looked 27, okay, with the makeup, the wig, you know, she was mature body wise. So she looked 27. So we didn't question it. So we didn't have any, she didn't have any ID on her. So the only thing we can do was go by what she told us. And since she was not in the system, when we had nothing to cross-reference it with. So she got locked up, and then she got let out. 2 days later, she gets locked up again for the same thing. This time, she's being held, and while she's being held, she decides to come forward and say that, she's a juvenile and that she was 16 years of age. Well, this girl was from here. She was from DC, okay? She had been missing for 3 years, and she has been here the whole time in DC missing. Her parents could not find her. She's been right here under their nose, not even 5 minutes from where they live the whole time. So it's just not, it's hard to, this job is kind of hard, to investigate. But in reference to like your call that you all had, I was telling her that what happens is they post, like, so the girl, she posted on Facebook, right? She may post a location of where she's at, but that information may be a couple of days old, that you all see, because they want to stay 2 steps ahead of law enforcement.
Okay. So you're saying information we may see posted on the Facebook that we think is that person may be old?
Yes, it may be old. It may be a day, 2 days old. You just never know. Like I was telling Devon, I have coworkers that they post on Facebook or Instagram all the time, and they'll post what they're doing, but they post it maybe a day later because this is coming from a lot of females. They posted a day later because they got a lot of Facebook stalkers, as they call them. So sometimes information may not be accurate. It may be a day or 2 old. They just posted it when you saw it then, but you didn't know that they had did this 2 days ago.
So if the post says March 1st, 4:18 p.m. on Facebook, you're saying that's not accurate when they made the post?
It could be accurate, but a lot of times it may not be accurate. It may be that they posted that, but let's say they went to a club, right? So they went to the club, they took pictures or they took little videos, but they don't upload it until a couple of days later. And then they put in the location where they was at. So when you see it, it may say March 1st at the club, such and such, but that information is now like 2 days old. They didn't go on March 1st, they went on February the 27th.
I'm listening.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, someone in the chat asked, how can we be certified as a group as far as what we're doing with these kids, and how can an Amber Alert be improved? How can we improve the Amber Alert?
We don't feel as though every child is an Amber Alert.
And you're right. And every child doesn't get an Amber, probably does not get an Amber Alert, and it can be for several reasons. I mean, let's just say you have a runaway child, right? This child consistently runs away. Eventually, it's going to get to the point, especially if they're around the ages of like 16, 17, it may get to the point if they know that this child ran away before consistently, they may not put an Amber Alert where is that, stop all things, get the news media out here, let's get it out here on it. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that. It just depends on the situation.
I have one question. The other night, it was an Amber Alert for a child in Florida. Mm-hmm. But when the Amber Alert was posted, it was 4 hours after. Was it 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours? It was hours later that they put the Amber Alert out instead of doing it instantly. Mm-hmm. Why do they take so long to do it?
Well, first you gotta remember, you gotta be notified. Okay, so a time lapse between the time that they were, that the parent or whoever realized that the child was missing. Okay, so we got that time. Then you got, your first responders that get on the scene. Now they gotta investigate, they gotta ask questions in reference to that child, why that child may have went missing, who may have taken that child. So then after they gather all that information, then they gotta get that information to the bosses. Okay. Once they get it to the bosses, now this is when they start to make this determination on, what level are they going to go as far as the Amber Alerts? Okay, whether they're going to get the news media out there and everything. Okay, I'll give you another one. I had a young girl. Now this girl she was not a juvenile. She was an adult. Okay, but it came to us that she was being pimped out by the MS-13 gang. Okay. Now, and supposedly the guy who was like the leader of the gang, he had impregnated, he had her for a few years. So like while she was a juvenile, he had her and he had like several kids by her. Okay. But supposedly when they went to go lock him up, at first she was cooperating, but then she turned around and reneged on her statement. And so while they were trying to get her back on board, he had to get let go, and then he went back to his country. Okay, so
that's like international over here.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, yeah.
I'm aware of how it was sent children, overseas or from over there to over here, but I wasn't aware how they would come over here and actually do it.
Yeah, they normally like what happens is they either come in through like Mexico, or then sometimes they'll go and they'll come in from the north down. They come in down. A lot of times they end up mainly in like New York, and then they'll send them out from there, and they end up here in DC, Maryland, whatever, and then they run what we call brothels.
That's when we called in reference to Selena Figueroa, when I was explaining to you about, I had stated to, his name was Tim.
Mm-hmm.
I stated to Tim that it seemed like she's still in the Boston area and also had connections in was it Brooklyn, guys? It was somewhere in New York. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't taking any information from me whatsoever. He was just like, all right, the whole time. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, did you have any information to give me? And the whole thing is, I was sitting here giving you information all the time while you're being nasty, but you refuse to take anything down. I even gave him my name. Mm-hmm. And he didn't bother to take that down because I know he had to ask to spell my name because everybody does not spell the honor correctly.
Right.
So he didn't take any of that information down. So is that a violation of their policy? Can he be held accountable for it? Because we was giving him information, and our first question was, how often do you update your list? Mm-hmm. And then I stated that we came across Selena Figueroa, mm-hmm. and we noticed her Facebook page has been very active over a year, mm-hmm. and everything else. He didn't take anything down.
And like I said, he could have just been, having a bad day or just a negative person. I can't tell you, but you can take his name and you could have called and asked for a supervisor, and you can definitely make a complaint against him. And then on top of that, you can call NCMEC. Okay. You can Google it. I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Right. Call back. Okay. and ask to speak to a supervisor. Okay, let them know the situation, who you talk to. Okay, and from there, you explain to them that that you didn't appreciate, first of all, his attitude towards the situation. You all were just trying to help. You were trying to give information, and it didn't seem like he was interested in it. And then from there, you can also ask them, okay, we understand, say, pretty much say, we understand that you all have guidelines that you all have to go through, that you all cannot give us a lot of pertinent information because it could hinder, investigations. But what can you give us? What information can you give us in reference to, this girl that is missing? And, we just wanted to give you all the information that we realize. We just want to make sure that you all realize that this girl's account is active, that she is still in Boston. But like I told you, even law enforcement, like on my cases, I have access to, whoever I'm investigating. I have access to their Facebooks, their Instagram, because a lot of them, they keep stuff wide open and you can go in there. See, just like you all went on to the girls, we go in there too. So we monitor daily, go in there and see what's going on, see if we can locate that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, ask them, whoever's in charge, the supervisor, what all can they give you? Because you don't want to run into that situation again. Okay. But, like I said, I know that if somebody calls me and like say they asking me more questions than giving me, the information they're giving me is pretty much what they're seeing. I'm already seeing that information. Then I'm kind of like wanting to really kind of know who this is that I'm talking to. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure that whoever I'm talking to, one, because I told you before, we get people that just crazy people that call. Okay, that just we trying to figure out what's the issue here, why they call, and but we know that human trafficking is like a big topic now. You know what I'm saying? So everybody is concerned. So you just kind of like gotta decipher, who is legit and who is not. So that's where I might ask you a lot of questions on the phone just to see who you are, try to get a feel for you, and make sure that make sure that I'm not giving you pertinent information that could hinder my case. Oh, okay.
So my question is, when I called you about Selena,
Mm-hmm.
well, when I mentioned to you about Selena, you didn't go in the system to, and why? Can I ask you why?
Yes. So, okay, it's not one, it's not my investigation. Two, whenever we go into the system, it logs everything. So, like, that's just for instance, let's just say, I go in the system and I'm looking for somebody and it's not even in my jurisdiction. Now what happens is higher ups can come and say, hey, there's a log of you in the system, looking at this person or whatever. Why? And I have to explain why. It's just like I have people come and ask me, hey, can you look in the system and see if I got a warrant or something? Well, I can't do that because if I do that, now I get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So I can't look at my girlfriend. I can't look up, your boyfriend or anything like that. So it's just a lot of rules and regulations. Now, let's say she showed up in DC, okay, and then you called and you said, hey, this girl, we see that she's missing. She was in Boston, but now we see that she's in DC. Okay, now I can get involved. So now I'm gonna go on there, see what you're talking about on her Facebook page. Now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna look online to the websites where they post these girls at to see if I can find her ad or something like that, and see if I can locate her.
They have a specific website.
Yes.
I'm aware of one website called
Backpage.com.
Backpage.com.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went to that website, but I didn't see any pictures.
Well,
So
see,
it was like kind of weird.
well, now it's kind of hard because see, before, like when they first started doing this, like back when Craigslist first came out, they were using their own pictures. Okay, especially like with the juveniles, they were using their own pictures. Like, yeah, you can. I had a case where it's like the girl came from Washington State. Okay, she came all the way here. The pimp never even left his house. He was here in D.C. He goes on Facebook. She, he sees her page. He likes her. They start conversating back and forth. Next thing you know, boom, she's on the plane here thinking that she's meeting some new boo. Okay. Now the thing is, she used her sister's ID to get on the plane. Okay. And I don't know why they didn't question her on that, but she used her sister's ID, which made her an adult. And she ended up here on the plane. As soon as he got her off of the out the airport, he took her to his mom's house. And this dude was like early 30s. Okay. Well, long story short, he ended up pimping her out on the street. Then he puts her up into the hotel, puts her online. I'm at work. I'm trolling the internet. I see a picture of her. And like I said, body-wise, she looks like an adult. But the face screamed out juvenile. So we went, conducted a little operation. We got her. And then after we got her, first she was giving us adult information. We had nothing to really cross-reference it about, but we were locking her up. So using that leverage, we were able to get her to fess up, and then she ended up going from 18, 17, then eventually she ended up being 15 years old.
So when did you guys stop looking for them?
When did we stop looking for them?
When did you guys stop?
No, we don't stop looking for them now. I mean, say they age, like, okay, you got a juvenile, but eventually she turns 18. Okay, now
How old is Selena, guys? I'm sorry, excuse me. Is Dami up there? Or that?
I can't hear you. What'd you say?
Do we know how old is Selena? Is it like 16 or is she 17?
Hey, KPR, I can't really hear you. I don't know if the chat is the same. I don't know if they feel the same way, but I can't. Yeah, I can hear the person on Rita's end real clear, but I can't really hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. I just heard not I can hear you. Something was like he was far away.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
You can go ahead. I'm gonna go on mute.
I was asking Selena age. She's 16 or 17. She's somewhere between that age, right?
I believe so. I got to go back and look.
And that's another thing that we noticed with her. She went missing in August of 2016. However, it was an when it shows up on the site, she's not entered until a year and 3 months later. Why so long?
I mean, it could be plenty. There's several. It could be plenty of reasons for that. What if she's okay? Let's just say her parents never reported her missing. We had that happen. I mean, we have that happen a lot of times. You come from a home where you had drug addiction or whatever. They may not even felt like, okay, whatever, she's gone.
Then who reported her missing?
Right. So they don't report her missing until, say, Child and Family Services come looking around, and now, we get ready to get in trouble. So now we report her missing. Okay, it's been a year later. Or what if, mom knows who she's with? Mom's okay who she's with, because guess what? When she make her money, they send a little bit of money back to moms. Oh yeah, we have it happen all the time.
So can it be prosecuted the same way as
if you can prove that, yes. But I mean, remember what I told you. First thing is we have to be able to prove that mom knows. So who gonna say mom knows? Is it going to be the daughter, or is the daughter going to protect the mom and say mom didn't know? I'm just sending money back to her. I've had situations where I got cases right now where is that these young girls, young girls, they be having babies. So now, okay, she could be 16 years old, she has a baby, mom's taking care of the baby, she's out here prostituting, and she's sending money back to moms so mom can take care of the baby.
But who would report that person? You said it would be child services or something?
Well, like I said, sometimes what happens is, let's say schools, okay, we haven't seen your daughter in like a year. They may say something's not right. Let's, reach out. And then they reach out and mom is stumbling and can't explain where her daughter is or whatever. Now all of a sudden, Child and Family Services getting involved. They come looking for the daughter. And now mom is like, let me file and make a missing person report. Okay, now so I can cover myself. Even though it's late, she's still trying to backtrack and cover herself now.
Okay, I have another question. Can a missing person be identified by phone?
Can a missing person be identified by phone?
Yes. Okay, I'm sitting in the bigger room. I'm okay.
No. We got to actually put our eyes on you. Somebody has to actually, we have to actually meet you, talk to you, figure out what's going on with you. We got to ask you a series of questions because we got to write a report. Because I've had girls that have aged out, meaning they're 18, 19 now, and then we come across and they've been missing since they were, 16, 17 years old. But they like, I'm good, I'm fine, I don't want to go back or whatever. Well, I can't force them to go back. Only thing I can do is take the information and, make notes that they are in perfect health or whatever. Case is closed. Yes, person, it's got to be in person. And if you call me, like say if they missing from here, from DC, but they're in Boston, okay, and they call me up, I know you're looking for me because I saw it on Facebook. Because sometimes we put alerts on Facebook and stuff as well, or sometimes we put alerts on Backpage on the same place that they post ads. We put alerts out there as well, and so when they see that, they'll call us and say, "I'm okay" and everything. I'm not coming back or whatever. Well, we can't operate like that. All right. So if you're okay, I need you to go to that local police station, wherever you're at, and let them know that you're a missing person so they can close it out. Somebody, law enforcement, has to put their eyes on you and be able to say, she's fine.
Right. Chosen, did you have a question? You got the floor.
I'm listening. I'm soaking it all in. What's your name, brother?
Roy.
Corey?
Roy, R-O-Y.
Oh, Roy. All right. Yeah, I think it's I think y'all doing a great job. And you said basically you specialize in human trafficking, or you do more than that?
It's human trafficking, prostitution, and forced labor.
Okay. Yeah, I think y'all doing a very, very good job with that. How closely tied in is your job with pedophilia?
On our team,
can I just add this then? You know what Chris Hansen used to do? How is that like? Is human trafficking tied in some sort with that? Do you all monitor those situations too?
You talking about to catch a predator?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So our team does consist of, we do have like a couple of guys that's what they do. They troll the internet. They go onto those sites where pedophiles use, and they conversate a lot of times as if they were either children, or they might conversate as they're another pedophile. We've had people come from California who thought that they was coming here to DC to get with a young child, and as soon as they get off the plane and they show up to the location that is set, they're being locked up, placed under arrest, and prosecuted. Okay. So it falls in the same situation. It's in the same
sort of, because most girls being trafficked, they're young, they're under the age. So yes, they're minors. So most of the time, right?
Well, a lot of times they normally start when they're minors. Yes, and I can pretty much tell you how that goes. So a lot of times, what happens is they'll say, okay, these girls may come from broken homes. Something is going on in their life that they're not happy, so they're looking for some type of happiness. Maybe it's a missing father, or missing mother, or both. It's just every situation is different. But let's just say that situation, or they can be an unruly child with their parents. Some of them come from good homes, but their parents don't give them what they want, so now they mad. So now they become promiscuous, and when they become promiscuous, eventually what ends up happening is somebody will come around. These guys, these traffickers, pimps, they they go to the metro stations. Okay, they hang at the metro stations around about the time they kids get out of school. Okay, and the young girls come up to the metro station because here in DC they really don't have school buses. They go to school by metro, and so they'll wait at the metro stations, approach these girls. Hey, how you doing? Act like they're trying to be, they man or whatever. And most young girls, especially around the age of 15, 16, they like older guys. And so from there, they bait them in, and they don't mention anything about prostitution or anything right up, up front. They would take them, spend a little money on them, you know, and eventually, what we call that the grooming stage. They groom them, and then eventually they'll try to get you away from your family, your loved ones, people that be concerned about you, and then they do what we call they go into the circuit. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll make these girls feel like they love them, and then turn around and say, well, look, I want to get a house, we can get this, we can get that, but I need you to do something for me or whatever. You ain't gotta do it forever, but just until we can get the money together. And some of the girls will feel obligated because this guy did more for me than maybe my father did or whatever. So now they feel obligated, and then they step out there, and next thing you know, they're prostituting.
Let me ask you this too, Mr. Roy. Do you think it's more willing or unwilling queens that are in this trafficking organization? Do you think it's more willing or more unwilling?
Okay, well, all right. Now on a personal view, or on my own view.
Well, yeah, on your personal aspect.
All right. So back in the day, all right, everybody that was getting involved, they were being tricked. I'm gonna use small. They were being tricked into doing this. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, or they were being forced. Okay, so we have what they call guerrilla pimps. Guerrilla pimps, you don't want to do it, they're gonna beat you until you do it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes what they would do is it's like they get you away from your family and everything, and then you still think that you're in a girlfriend boyfriend, and then eventually this guy will bring in his friends, and then they will either gang rape you if you don't willingly do it. A lot of times they had what they call you got to earn your due. So what they would do is they would hack your hair off, and they wouldn't just shave you bald. They would have a lot of
patches
in your hair, and that's why you see a lot of the girls wearing wigs. It's not wearing wigs so they can look cuter. A lot of times they wearing wigs because dudes chopped off their own hair, and so you got to earn your due. So meaning that you got to work, you got to bring in this money, and as long as you don't give me no issues and everything, then you can grow your own hair back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a lot of rules to the game when it comes to prostitution, sex trafficking, and that's what makes investigating hard, because these girls are being taught that law enforcement is pretty much your enemy, or they'll use, all right, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill your family, because they know where your family live, because if you have an ID, okay, or they might have picked you up from your mom's house or whatever before they took you, and so now they know where your family lives, and the girls, they know that, and they use that as leverage to get them to do what they want. Some of the girls, they have a drug addiction. I had a couple of pimps that were from California. One was an actual pimp. The other one, he was a drug boy. Okay, but he got into pimping as well. Now the thing is, guess what? It's really no difference. It's the only difference between selling drugs and selling, somebody else, like far as sex trafficking, is that once you sell the drugs, you just run out of drugs and you gotta get more.
Mm-hmm.
But with the person, with selling this girl
over and over and over, recycle.
Exactly. So a lot of the pimps that we come across, they used to be drug dealers. Some of them still are drug dealers. They just figured out. But the thing is, they were getting so many years for selling drugs, and they know that they don't really, technically, the only way we want to be able to put this guy in jail for, trafficking this girl is if she comes forward and say he did this. Not unless, now I've had a couple of cases where I built my case based off of social media sites that he was on. Everything was social media, phone, conversations between me and him, because he thought that I was a client. He thought I was a guy that.
And what about this too, Mr. Roy? What if you come on the scene, right, and y'all busting a girl in the act, and her pimp is there? You know what I'm saying? Who takes the fall? Because you saying that some, or do you guys investigate to see if she was forced? Like who do you look at first and be like, oh, do you put it on the pimp because the girl wouldn't be out there if it wasn't for the pimp? Or do you say do you try to decide between him being a strong arm pimp or was she willingly there? I mean, how do y'all weigh that, like to see who's guilty of that act, or is it both automatic?
No, it's not both automatic. Okay, so only time it will probably be both automatic is if it is a juvenile. See, with okay, she so this is how they would say a juvenile, she can't agree to consent to like have sex or whatever, or prostitute. So no matter what,
automatically falls on the pimp or the handler, pimp or the handler. Okay.
Yes. So you have to have with our cases, we have to have force, fraud, or coercion. Okay. So with a juvenile, as long as you can show that this girl is being prostituted and this guy is benefiting from it, you don't even need her testimony. Okay, it'll be good to have her testimony, but if you can build your case based off of cell phone, text messages, computer ads that are posted online, emails, social media, you can build your case and you can base your case off of that. And even without her, you can prosecute this guy. It's not easy though, but it does happen. But with adults that are being prostituted, okay, you have to have force, fraud, or coercion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what state are you in? What general area?
Washington, D.C.
And from your perspective, I'm pretty sure it's bad, man. I'm pretty sure it's bad out there, right?
It's bad. Okay, so let me just say this. All right, when I first started doing it, I've been doing just this. I've been in law enforcement for 20 years now, but I've been doing this human trafficking for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I started out as an undercover, and eventually I moved over to doing investigations, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I've recovered a lot of people. I've locked up a lot of pimps. I've made a lot of good cases. Now the thing is, a lot of times it's not easy. It's so like this is what happens. You can look at like the drugs and guns, and you can see like how many cases are being prosecuted or how many arrests are being made. And if so, somebody did it. They did a census on DC as far as like drugs. And when it came to drugs, there was like 6,000 some odd arrests. Okay, when they did guns, there were like 3,000 some odd arrests for a year. Okay, then when they did human trafficking, guess how many arrests that they had for human trafficking?
How many?
About 650 for the year. And the reason being, that's just how hard it is to prosecute these cases. cases, those cases for the year, for that year. Okay, and the thing is, those cases are a combination of, you know, majority is probably Johns being arrested. Okay, when we do our reversals and we put a undercover female officer out there, and we get the Johns that come up. Most of those.
So was that 600 in the state?
That's 600 in District of Columbia.
Okay, but that's still kind of bad. What is like 60, almost 60 a month? That's still kind of bad. It's bad.
Right. So, but you know, a lot of people would think that it would be more, but so a lot of people don't understand the you know, how complex it is to investigate these cases, because, like I said, with drugs and guns, you have physical evidence. With human trafficking, your evidence is most likely your victim.
Right. Right.
And so, Devon wanted me to, you know, to tell you another case that we had, and you can actually Google it as well. But you know, we even have to be very cautious about the information we give to other police officers. Okay, I don't care, you know, any job or whatever, you're gonna have some bad apples. Okay, so sometimes you have bad police officers, and so we have to be cautious about what information we give to officers that are not in our field. And the reason being is because
and to say this too, Roy, my bad, but cutting you off, but I think for every good cop they hire a bad one alongside it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? And it's got to be some corrupt cops in the sex trafficking division. It's got to be some, just like with the case that we were researching and when we were following, and you know, they got a corrupt detective over the missing persons division, the youth missing persons division, and he called us and told us he identified somebody we had been looking for via the phone. So he talked to her on the phone and he closed the case, which was a total lie. I mean, they got people. I'm thinking like I wouldn't say for every one good cop they hire a bad cop. I say probably every 4 or 5 good cops. I say they probably slide a crooked one in there somewhere, you know, that'll do their dirty work. But you know,
normally I'm gonna tell you what I feel that happens is, I feel majority of every cop that ends up bad, they start out good, you know, for whatever reason, you know, they may end up doing something stupid and becoming, you know, doing bad things. And you know, I've seen it happen on even, you know, here. I've seen it happen how this good officer eventually ended up doing something that got him locked up. Okay, so I mean, but it happens. You know, some people don't relate all they true selves when you're hiring them. So you might end up hiring them based off of their background, but really not knowing them, and then eventually somewhere in there it comes out. But we had an officer. I knew him since I came on. He had way more time on than me, and I mean, he was a good guy, funny guy. Known him all, you know, since I've been on, and here it is. Next thing you know, I get pulled in to the office because come to learn that he had been pimping a juvenile who was a missing person. And how he got caught was she was just a runaway, and I guess he must have came across her, and he took her in to his apartment, and she had been staying there. And then the officers that were assigned to the district where she was missing, they were knocking on people's doors, and they knocked on one of his neighbor's doors, and the lady recognized the girl in the picture, and she says, "I seen that girl downstairs with the guy down there." And so they go down to his door, and they found the girl in his apartment. And then eventually it comes out that he was pimping this girl out. Now the thing is, he was on what we call light duty, and when they take you off the street and put you on light duty, sometimes they will put you in like they send him to our building. So he was in my building on light duty up in the station. Well, like I said, this guy was a good guy, and you know, sometimes he would talk to us, and you know, he was asking us questions about what we were doing and everything, and we had no idea that he was pimping girls out. Okay, so that's why we have to be very, very careful on what information we give, give out even to law enforcement, because we've had law enforcement involved in sex trafficking.
Have you ever had a human trafficking case that was tied to organ harvesting?
Thank you for asking that.
To what?
That led you all to organ harvesting, or that was tied to organ harvesting in any type of way?
Organ harvesting? No, I have not. I have not had a case, and I don't know of a case here in DC. That I'm not saying that it has not had one, but I don't know of a case here in DC. So.
All right, one more thing, brother, because you're a very knowledgeable brother. I appreciate you even taking the time to answer the questions. And I'm very humbled by that, man. My last question is, I wanted to get your take on the Kanika case, Kanika Jenkins situation. If you're familiar with that.
No, explain. Tell me about it, because I might know. I just don't remember.
The girl who supposedly walked into the freezer at the Crown Plaza in Rosemont, when she was at a party, drugged, supposedly drugged.
Is this the one where they had a video and they showed her walking? She was like stumbling or something like that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you didn't look into it a little too much, if you didn't look into it a lot, then you know what I'm saying. Of course, you can't really give your take on it. I was just trying to see if you did and try to get your little take on it. But and you know, with you being working with the FBI and stuff like that, you know, I just had to try to see if all y'all knew about it. But I guess it was only handed to a certain group.
Well, that would be, pretty much investigating where she was. I don't know too much about what happened in that.
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, you know, federal agents are buddies tied in. You know, it's kind of like, I'm not calling y'all like a cult or none like that, but you know how like Masons around the world, they all communicate together. I kind of thought that federal agents kind of knew each other, like the federal agents in this division know the federal agents out in Washington, and you know, and y'all all communicate about big cases, but it ain't like that, is it?
That's not necessarily true. That's like here, okay, as far as here, I'm more likely to, to conversate more with other agencies here in this area in the DMV. So that'd be like DC, Maryland, and Virginia, like the northern part of Virginia. So we do, like, if we have an investigation and we see that we got ties in Maryland, we will, get together with local law enforcement as well as the FBI field office in Maryland and work a case with them. I've had a case where is that I had it started here in DC. The guy, he was bouncing back and forth between DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and I locked him up. And then after I locked him up, I was getting ready to go after him again. And right when I was getting ready to go after him again, my informant couldn't find him. And then my informant was like, something's not right. So I started reaching out to my partners over in Maryland, and come to find out that they had him locked up. And so from there, because they didn't really know what all they had, I went and started working with the attorneys over in Maryland in order to help them bring a case against this guy. And they ended up getting 30 years on him versus what we were going to get on him. So he got 30 years for trafficking. He had a juvenile when they caught him. He didn't have a juvenile when I got him. So they had the better case. So I jumped on with them in order to, get him, more time.
Got you. And my last one, broski. I have to ask all most law officials or police officials who I talk to the same question. All right. So say you did a raid, and in your field it would be a sex trafficking raid or human trafficking raid, and say after the raid's clearing out, everybody's being locked up, the proper people being locked up, and you walk back into the room that y'all raided and you find $1 million in cash. What do you do, Mr. Roy?
We take the money as evidence and civil forfeiture.
Okay, because I always have to ask, Because a wise man once told me, if a police say they'll turn it all in, those are the crooked ones. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you're crooked. I'm just saying a wise man once said.
That wise man is wrong. I'm not risking my livelihood for some money that ain't mine.
Hey, no, I'm just messing with you, bro. I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you, man. Hey, man, I hope you have a great night, Roy. I appreciate the information, man. And you'll be a good person to have in our corner, man. Somebody we could reach out to just in case we're trying to follow a case that's down in your area. Somebody we might need to reach out to you, brother.
Okay.
All right, man. I really appreciate that.
All right, no problem.
Can you drop your name for us one more time so that we know who you're talking to?
My name is Roy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm with the Metropolitan Police Department, Human Trafficking Unit, and I also work with the F.B.I.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on panel. I have one last question, then I'll let you go. I know you're busy. Can you tell us what we can do as far as the justice alert that we created? If you don't know what that is, the justice alert was built off the Save Our Children's Challenge, where we challenge all YouTubers to showcase our missing children. And so then we have the justice alert, because a lot of people that go missing, whether they're adult, female, male, Caucasian, Black, white, they don't get an Amber Alert. So what we're doing here, we have the justice alert. So when we find someone that's missing, or we have knowledge of anything, we showcase that a missing person in all our people's channels, which is also located in the description box of this video. All of us will broadcast that missing person. So if you can tell us what we can do to improve that, I greatly appreciate it.
Well, first, I would say that y'all need to probably create give yourself a name, like an organizational name, and get it to the point, even if you went wherever you're at and you went and, like we have a lot of nonprofit organizations here that deal with human trafficking, okay? And they all over the United States, okay? So maybe y'all might want to figure out how to become an organization where that you're recognized. Somebody can actually say, okay, yes, I know this organization right here. We can pull up this organization. They are, and it's not. I'm not saying that you have to ask for, a lot of nonprofit organizations, they asking for money from the federal government, but you all just trying to, be able to, help, find people that are missing, kids, whatever, and help them get recovered. But the thing is, what I don't want you to run into is like what you ran into when you called the guy, and to NCMEC, and you talk to the guy. But so the thing is like, I would try to create a organization where it's recognized. Okay.
Okay, so we have to should we go through and the IRS EIN number and file as a nonprofit organization, and do we sign up with or notify or contact law enforcement to let them know, our business name just is over.
Okay.
Save our children.
Right.
So do we go to the local police department?
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what you do. Okay, y'all listening? Somebody write this down. Okay, you can write it down too. All right. So I'm gonna give you a couple of names of these nonprofit organizations. I think that they would be better for you to talk to ask those questions and tell them what you're trying to do, and they can probably tell you what you need to do in order to. And I will call them too and try to find out. Let's see.
And can you reach out to the Boston F.B.I. members to Selena for us?
And that's somewhat.
Well, we was trying to tell Tim that it seemed like she's still in the Boston area, but also had connections in New York. I can't remember what part of New York, but it's on the Facebook page. Well, no, the way we found out is the friends that posted something on her Facebook page, and that's one thing that screwed us out. Because right after we got off the phone with him, this posting appeared on her page. And the posting was I'm not directly quoting it, but it's something to the fact of you think you can get away LMA, oh, that my ass off. You can try, but you're not going nowhere. And that kind of spooked us because we felt like that, okay, we just hung up with this man that was just like nasty with us. He did not take down any information, not my name or anything, in relation to this girl. And within 2 to 3 minutes after hanging up, here comes this post on her page. So, you know, that was like kind of eerie to us.
Okay, this I can't because I'm not at work. But Polaris Project. PolarisProject.org is the website.
You said Blair as in B or Claire?
No, is POLARIS project.org.
Okay.
Polaris Project is they are the ones that runs the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Okay, that is nationwide. So Polaris Project, they are like the main.
They bigger than the national.
Yeah, they are just as big as them. Okay, so this is see the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, they had missing kids as well as helping with the human trafficking. Polaris Project, they deal with human trafficking. Period. Okay, and so they want their main offices in DC. I will call them up and I will just talk to somebody and see exactly what do you need to do in order for tell them what your organization, what your group is, and tell them that you want to be able to be recognized when you call local law enforcement, FBI, NCMEC, or even them, so that way they don't think that that you all are fraudulent. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So Polaris Project, I would call them, and I mean I can call some people that I know in the nonprofit organizations as well, and try to find out what you all can do, and even though you may be able to kind of like tie yourself to them or be like, okay, we can feed that information to them, and then they trust me. People call the national the human trafficking hotline, and as soon as they call the hotline, bam, they are like feeding that information, and next thing you know, emails go out to law enforcement, FBI. I get it all the time, instantly. So, but a lot of times, okay, let me tell you what happens. So what happens is this. The only issue that it becomes is when, like, say you see, I'm gonna go into not prostitution, but I'm going to forced labor. Okay, y'all listen about forced labor?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, so forced labor, pretty much, this is what we had. It's been maybe about 4 years ago now. So I don't know, you may have seen it yourself if you've been downtown. You ever seen kids hanging at the subway station and they selling cookies and stuff? Okay, and they talk about, oh, I'm in this mentoring group, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Exactly. Okay, so some geniuses, what they did was they said, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. They went down and instead of getting like they were supposed to be like a nonprofit organization. So they never got any of the authorizations or any of the documentation in order to support that. But what they did was they went and they got their trade name, and that was it. Okay, so they went and they applied for the trade name, and then they took that application and then they actually got the trade name, and then they made a copy of it and they laminated it, and then they gave it to all the guys. Some of them, you may have some actual real ones, but a lot of them were actually fraudulent. Okay, and so what they do is they go into neighborhoods where kids don't have, like they go into the hood, and they go to the parents and say, hey, I want to mentor your child, and guess what? We're not going to charge you no money, and but not for you, but for somebody that don't have it, they're like, oh wow, great. So then what happens is they get these group of kids, they pick them up from school. They actually had a local, like one I had, they actually had a location, okay? But then what they were doing is they said, yeah, we're gonna do fundraisers and raise money. We're gonna take the kids here and there and there. And then what they would do is they would take these kids out there and they would put them out near the metro stations, and the kids were selling cookies, okay? And or they were asking for donations. And what do most people do when they see kids?
It was always an adult male.
Exactly. Exactly.
That they was reporting to or watching them.
Exactly. And then so most people when they see kids, especially kids doing positive things, they're going to either donate or they're going to buy the cookies. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? People wasn't, before human trafficking, sex trafficking, or overall became a big topic, a lot of people didn't know anything about it, and so people were just overlooking it, okay? And then eventually, once people started realizing and was being taught what human trafficking is, and forced labor and all that stuff, people started recognizing it, and then the human trafficking hotline, they started blowing up. But the thing is, because they were calling the human trafficking hotline, and then the human trafficking hotline was either emailing me or they would call me, time had elapsed. And so by the time I get there, because sometimes I'll be at home and I live 40-some minutes away. So by the time, I might send some units there and they looking, and by the time I get there, boom, they're gone. And I can't find them. And the reason why is because what people were starting to do was they were starting to question the kids as far as what they was doing, a lot of questioning, which made the people that was handling them nervous. And then what they would do is they would jump on the subway and go somewhere else. But when I finally caught up to them, and I eventually caught up to the guy that was running their little organization, I made him come in and I made him bring all his documentation. And he was trying to run one on me. And guess what? He was making about $18,000 a month over these kids. Okay, selling cookies and asking for donations. And it was claiming that he never filed no taxes. And real quick, what the kids got out of it?
What?
Sometimes he took them to McDonald's. Sometimes he took them to Walmart, let them get a little toy or something like that. But the kids, just like in prostitution, okay, a lot of these young girls, the only thing they see is the money that they're making, okay? That's what they see. So that's what, a lot of times that drives them, because I come across them, I make more money than you making. Yeah, you're right. You sure do. But what do you have to show for it? And sometimes that makes it very hard to communicate with them. You have to kind of like really break them down. But the kids, that's what they see. They see the money that they're making. And now this guy, yeah, he took me to McDonald's, he took me to Walmart, you know what I'm saying? But if you add up how much money he spent taking them to Walmart and McDonald's, or maybe getting their hair cut, versus how much money he is banking, it is nowhere in comparison.
Right now, I'm in to each child, we get a paper basketball team for these sports or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we realized what was going on, we started, whenever we saw any organization, that we started stopping them and talking to the person and make them show us their documentations. And if they didn't have the proper documentations, then we were going and taking them to the attorney's office and trying to file charges against them, and then making notifications to labor, to the labor division that handles child labor laws as well. Oh yeah. You know, like I explained to the guy, a fundraiser normally has a beginning and an end. It's not continuous. So, but yeah.
Well, I thank you for coming on to the panel. You're welcome on here anytime. If you can give your contact information to Rita, she can give it to me. I would like to talk to you about certain things that I run into and get your perspective, if you don't mind.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll leave my contact information with. Hold on a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Rita.
Rita. Okay, so I will leave my contact information with Rita, and you all can get in contact with me through her. And then so listen, and the only reason why I say that is because okay, so technically, like a lot of times, we're we're not supposed to do this without getting like authorization.
Right.
Okay, so you know, so the thing is like.
Gotcha.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but so you know, I have no problem with you know, if y'all ever need to talk to me or whatever, you know, what I'm saying, just you know, contact her, and you know, I have no problem. Anybody that's trying to do something positive, I don't have a problem with it at all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Once again, thank you for coming on to panel. You know, you're welcome here anytime, and God bless you. And I hope that you continue to do your part as trying to keep these kids safe, save our children.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, y'all, we're gonna end it for tonight. Thank you everybody that's watching us. Please like and share this video with your friends and family so we can know, just get the word about what's going on. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all later.
Okay, I'll see you guys afterwards.
Right, Rita.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you.